We are born at a given moment. Pulsing with deep symbolic meaning. He didn't see time as a ticking clock, but as a great turning circle, where each season, each month, each moment expresses a particular spiritual energy. In Jung's view, the moment of your birth, that month, that season, that symbolic energy, is not random. It is the first signature the universe imprints on your being. And this is not some mystical claim, but the product of a solid, lifelong philosophical system he developed. A system of archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the sacred cycles of nature. To understand why a birth month might carry symbolic energy that shapes your psychology, we must start at the heart of Jung's theory: archetypes. Jung observed that in dreams, myths, art, and religions across all cultures, in Africa, Europe, Asia, and the Americas, the same psychological images appear again and again: the mother, the hero, the teacher, the shadow, the betrayer, the circle, the tree of life. No one teaches humanity these images, yet we all dream of them. From this, Jung drew a revolutionary conclusion: we are shaped not only by a personal unconscious, but by a deeper layer, the collective unconscious, which stores these ancient archetypes. Archetypes are primal psychological patterns, living forces that operate autonomously within the human mind. They are not memories, but original symbolic systems, blueprints of the soul, that work silently but powerfully. In The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Jung writes, "Archetypes are the living system of reactions and aptitudes that determine the individual's life in invisible ways. They shape how we love, fear, fight, resist, and sacrifice. And strangely, each person, despite their unique personality, carries one or more dominant archetypes. Some are born warriors, bold, explosive. Others are seekers, always wandering, pursuing truth. Some are mothers, nurturing, embracing. Why? Jung answers, because you are not born only into a body, but into a moment full of symbolic meaning, a convergence point between nature's energy and your inner structure. This is where the cycles of nature merge with psychology. Jung saw each season as a deep psychological process, mirroring the soul's evolution. Winter is death and retreat. Spring is rebirth and new beginnings. Summer is intensity, energy, and vitality. Autumn is ripening, reflection, and release. And because your birth month lies within one of these cycles, it carries a specific psychological field, an archetypal energy. To understand this more clearly, imagine a child born in January, when the air is still cold, the trees are bare, the light is brief, and the whole world seems silent and reflective. According to Jung, this is the energy of the sage, the master of wisdom. Children born in this month often mature early, speak little, are introspective, serious, and prefer observation over participation. This isn't due to genetics, but because they carry the temperament of the moment they were born into, the atmosphere of stillness, contemplation, and long-term orientation. Likewise, someone born in April, when spring bursts forth with intensity, plants stretch upward, and energy ignites, will often bear the temperament of the warrior, bold, impulsive, eager to start, unafraid of confrontation. Jung saw a profound correspondence between human psychology and the cycles of nature because he believed that humans are not separate from nature. In other words, your soul is not born in a vacuum. It is seeded from layers of symbolism already present in the collective unconscious, and it is activated by the moment you are born. Your birth month, according to Jung, is the convergence point of three forces: the rhythm of the cosmos, the archetypes of the collective unconscious, and the forming personality of you as an individual. Here, a profound truth emerges. The symbolism of your birth month does not decide who you are, but it reveals who you might become. This is a major difference between Jung and most systems of astrology or numerology. He did not believe in fixed prophecy, but in the freedom of the individual once they understand themselves. But to have freedom, you must understand the invisible forces at work within. And your birth month, with its associated archetypes, is the starting map. Jung called the journey of recognizing and reconciling the archetypes within oneself individuation. In The Development of Personality, he stated, "Individuation means becoming an individual, and insofar as individuality embraces our innermost, last, and incomparable uniqueness, it also implies becoming one's own self." Understanding the symbolism of your birth month is the first step on this path. It is like the moment you first realize you're standing on a map of the soul, and while the path ahead may be unclear, you know you're no longer wandering in the dark. Take, for example, November, the month of fog, of retreat from light, of slow death in nature. Jung associated this month with the alchemist. People born in this month often carry a deep inner world, a tendency toward introversion, a life steeped in emotional depth, and a willingness to face their inner darkness. These are people who can transform pain into wisdom, Birth months through Jungian archetypes. January, the sage, the master of wisdom. January begins the year not with a roar, but with profound stillness, as if the universe is holding its breath to listen to something within. Those born in this time often carry that same energy, not rushed, not loud, but deeply introspective and observant. They belong to the archetype of the sage, the master of wisdom, the one who carries the voice of experience and vision. Even as children, these individuals exude a maturity beyond their years, a kind of knowing that cannot be learned but only remembered, as if they have lived many lifetimes before. They don't need to speak to be heard, because their presence alone brings depth to any room. Yet this very depth can cause others to misunderstand them as cold or distant. In a world that constantly moves and demands quick reactions, those with this archetype may become rigid, overly rational, or lose emotional flexibility. They tend to seek enduring values, truths untouched by time, but sometimes forget that living also requires lightness, surprise, and at times, a bit of innocence. Their journey is not about acquiring more knowledge, but about learning how to bring their wisdom into daily life naturally, without imposition, without over-seriousness. They need to learn to laugh gently at themselves, so that wisdom becomes a guiding light, not a shackle. When the sage finds balance between a clear mind and an open heart, they become more than just knowledgeable. They become a spiritual guide, helping others see themselves reflected in the mirror of stillness. February, the visionary, the seer of possibilities. February exists in the quiet transition at winter's end, where the ice begins to melt and new light gently appears. Those born in this month seem to carry a special light, not the glaring light of the sun, but an inner glow, the light of a soul gazing ahead, beyond the present. They embody the archetype of the visionary, the seer of possibilities, the one with a sharp intuition for what has not yet happened, but is already near. They are rarely content with what is, because their minds live in the realm of what could be. For this reason, they are natural innovators, creative, perceptive, and often ahead of their time. The inner world of a visionary is vast, where imagination knows no limits, where they converse with possibilities others have yet to see. They are often the source of big ideas, the ones who see a new path while others remain stuck in old loops. But living so much in the realm of ideas can lead to a sense of isolation, as if no one truly understands them. They may be seen as eccentric, out of sync, or difficult to grasp. In truth, they struggle to connect with the superficial because they seek depth, truth, and something worth living for. Their greatest challenge is not lack of ability, but lack of grounding. They may float between beautiful visions without knowing where to begin, or lack the patience for step-by-step execution. Sometimes, the greatness of their vision makes them feel powerless, because the real world is too slow, too messy, and unable to keep pace with their dreams. But the message of this birth month is not to give up the dream, but to learn how to bring the dream down to earth, through small actions, specific choices, and quiet, meaningful patience. When the visionary learns to bridge sky and earth, imagination and reality, they become capable of changing the world, not through force, but through vision and unwavering belief. There burns within them a fire for something better, more human, more profound. And if they stay true to that fire in their everyday life, the extraordinary becomes possible, not in some distant future, but starting here and now. March, the reborn. The soul who returns. If February is the door to the future with bold ideas not yet formed, then March is the rebirth of the heart, where vague intuitions begin to merge with feeling, and life rises again from within. March carries the energy of transition, where winter melts and spring begins. This is not just a shift in weather, but a symbol of deep transformation in the soul. Those born in this month are often souls emerging from an old cycle, stepping into a new land, softer, more emotional, yet also full of challenges. They embody the archetype of the reborn, the one who returns from within themselves, carrying the ability to heal, to empathize, and to reignite creative energy after quiet losses. They often possess strong intuition, almost as if they can sense what is happening without explanation. They immerse themselves in nature, art, music, and anything that stirs deep emotion. However, with such openness of heart, boundaries become fragile. The reborn can be swept away by others' emotions, empathizing to the point of dissolving, and sometimes lose themselves in the effort to understand the world. They may struggle between the unclear and the real, between feeling and logic, between giving and keeping something for themselves. Their core lesson is to stay awake within the flood of emotion, to learn to build boundaries, not to shut out the world, but to protect the tender life rebirthing inside them. When the reborn learns to stand firm within their sensitivity, they become gentle guides, those who bring light to places that seemed beyond revival, simply through their full presence and deep compassion. April, the warrior, the initiating fighter. If March is the time of emotional rebirth and intuitive opening, then April is the moment that energy is unleashed into action, like a sprout. They are prone to burnout, not because they lack strength, but because they haven't yet learned when to pause. The lesson for those born in April is not to suppress their power, but to learn how to use it with direction and compassion. Strength does not need to be shouted. True courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to know when to fight and when to forgive. When the warrior learns the art of endurance, not sprinting but running the long race, they become inspiring leaders, defenders of justice, and brave hearts who love through action. And in a world filled with chaos, their light is a bold reminder: dare to be yourself. May, the builder, the grounded creator. Not everyone is born with a desire to disrupt or lead a revolution. Some people, from the moment they arrive, seem to choose a different rhythm, steady, grounded, and quietly rooted. That is the spirit of May. As the vibrant world of April settles down, May enters like an invitation to return to core values: practicality, resilience, and peace. Those born during this time carry a kind of energy that brings calm to others, not because they speak loudly, but because they are simply present, like fertile soil waiting to receive a seed. They are the embodiment of the archetype, the builder, one who needs no stage, no applause, yet can construct an entire world with quiet dedication. They find happiness in simple things: a well-tended space, a task completed thoroughly, a love that endures through time. They can be fully present in the moment, unhurried, undistracted, as if time itself slows down when they enter a room. Within them is a kind of silent strength, the kind that needs no proof, yet can steady even those who are faltering. However, even the firmest ground can become a prison if it stops expanding. People born in May, because they value stability so deeply, can become trapped in the very safe zones they create. They may resist change even when it's necessary, simply out of fear of losing control. They hold their emotions tightly, not out of coldness, but from being used to a structured emotional order. But life never truly stands still, and the builder's lesson is this: love what endures, but don't cling to what no longer grows. When they understand this, their stability stops being a wall and becomes a foundation from which new things can rise. They are no longer the ones resisting change, but the ones helping the world transform with order, depth, and meaning. In an age of chaos and fragmentation, those born in May are a quiet reminder of the beauty of endurance, not loud, but indispensable. June, the seeker, the eternal searcher. A year reaching June is like a story arriving at its midpoint, no longer a beginning, but not yet close to the end. This time of year doesn't carry the tone of a pause, but of a crossroads, where everything begins to move faster, wider, more vividly. Those born in June often embody a boundless curiosity, as if the world is never wide enough for their exploration. They carry the archetype of the seeker, the one who is never satisfied with the first answer, who constantly asks why and what else. They are a blend of sharp intellect and a heart easily moved. Quick-minded and drawn to connection, they often inspire others effortlessly through words, a glance, or even a fleeting conversation. They are always searching for truth, for someone who understands them, for meaning in the smallest of things. Movement is their natural state, both in thought and in life. They may pass through many experiences, careers, relationships, believing that each new step brings them closer to something more real, more profound. Yet, this seeking instinct can be a double-edged sword. June-born individuals often find themselves overwhelmed by too many choices, unable to commit to any. They may know much but lack deep understanding. They connect with many people, yet sometimes feel lonely within their own restless mind. What they fear most is not failure, but missing out on something better just ahead, which leads them to question every present choice. They don't stop, because stopping feels like missing out. But sometimes, it's precisely the refusal to stop that causes them to miss what matters most. The quiet lesson for the seeker is this: not every door needs to be opened. Not every path must be taken. Some things blur the more you chase them. They need to learn to listen inwardly, to distinguish the soul's call from the noise of habitual busyness. When they find an anchor point, they are no longer a runner without rest, but become a guide with deep insight, a light that's both fluid and steady. And then they, the ones who searched endlessly, become the place others come to find themselves more clearly. July, the nurturer, the one who nourishes. If June is the outward call of the world, with its journeys, its questions, its relentless connections, then July Then they are not only a healing presence for others, but a mirror of grounded love, a love that gives, but also returns home to itself. August, the sovereign, the leader. After the months of emotional depth and spiritual nourishment, August arrives like a rain of light, the peak of summer, when life is not only mature but also radiant. If July is the heart that knows how to love, then August is the self that knows how to rise and shine. Those born in this time come into the world as if already prepared to shoulder responsibility, to lead, and to shape. Within them lies an innate regal quality, not necessarily derived from status or power, but from the way they show up, the way they make others feel more grounded simply by being present. They carry the archetype of the sovereign, the leader, the one who holds the center in a chaotic world. The sovereign does not need to raise their voice to be heard, because they emit a certainty that makes others want to follow. They can organize to see the big picture and to sense their responsibility within it. They do not only want success for themselves, but feel a deep need to create order in which others can also thrive. Deep down, they believe they have a mission, and they live that mission with rare confidence. They do not shy away from the burden, nor do they retreat in the face of challenge, because their essence is to stand at the center and keep the collective fire burning. However, all light casts a shadow. When a leader is not firmly grounded within, they can easily fall into the trap of power, becoming overly controlling, intolerant of mistakes, or acting more for appearances than for truth. Their ego, if not nurtured by humility, can become a beautiful prison, one where they must always appear strong, wise, and incapable of weakness. They fear losing power, not because they crave domination, but because they fear losing their self-worth when they are no longer looked up to. The sovereign's deeper lesson is this: true rulership comes not from strength, but from inner sovereignty. True leadership is not about standing above others, but about guiding with trust, wisdom, and a spirit of service. When those born in August learn to release the need to always be right, always be perfect, they discover a deeper kind of power, the power of humility, of a heart that knows how to listen, and of a soul unchained from appearances. And at that moment they are no longer the ruler, but the inspirer, a steady torch in the storm, not to conquer, but to illuminate. September, the analyst, the refiner. After the radiant glory and commanding presence of August, September enters like a gentle reminder. It is time to refine, to organize, and to bring order to what remains unfinished. This is not a month of grand gestures or leading crowds, but a month of reflection, adjustment, and completion. People born at this time often carry a unique ability, the gift of seeing what others overlook, noticing gaps in systems, flaws in plans, and the small details that don't quite fit the whole. They are the embodiment of the analyst archetype, the one who lives in the realm of structure, rules, and silent standards. Within them is a deep longing for harmony, not the vague emotional kind, but the harmony of order and efficiency. They love things that have structure, logic, and a clear purpose. To them, the world should not be a chaotic swirl of feelings. It should be organized, categorized, and sensibly run. They can work for hours, fine-tuning a small detail, simply because they believe that a small thing makes a big difference. Thanks to that meticulousness, they often accomplish what others overlook and see problems where others only see surfaces. However, the gift of refinement comes at a cost. Those born in September can easily become overly self-critical, as if an internal magnifying glass is constantly scrutinizing their every action and emotion. They may judge themselves harshly for even the smallest mistake, and often carry a persistent feeling of not good enough. They can also become stuck in details, losing sight of the whole picture, or get so caught up in fixing that they never feel ready. In relationships, they may love deeply but hide it, feeling their affection isn't perfect enough to give away. The most important lesson September offers is this: sometimes beauty lies in imperfection. Not everything needs to be optimized. Not everyone needs to be fully understood. And you, flaws and all, are still worthy of compassion. When the analyst learns to let go of the invisible measuring stick, they do not lose their sharpness. They simply become easier to live with, lighter in spirit, and closer to their true selves. And then, no longer obsessed with perfection, they become the ones who beautify the world from the inside, with selective sensitivity and the ability to see what is flawed and still True harmony doesn't come from avoiding conflict, but from the courage to speak truth kindly. When they learn to place themselves on equal footing with others, not above, for the sake of peacekeeping, and not below, out of fear of rejection, they rediscover their most authentic voice. And from that place, they can still bridge gaps and calm the world, but without sacrificing themselves in the process. When the peacekeeper learns to live truthfully while staying gentle, they cease to be a mirror reflecting others' desires. They become a soft light that leads people towards sincerity, integrity, and wholeness. November, the alchemist, the inner alchemist. November does not arrive with the brilliance of early autumn or the hope of the coming winter. It is a quiet moment suspended between light and shadow, a time when life begins to retreat, and everything in nature folds inward in preparation for the necessary death to come. This is not an end, but a silent transformation, and for that reason, those born in this month often carry a unique depth, as if they were born to live more than one life in a single lifetime. They embody the archetype of the alchemist, the inner alchemist, the one unafraid to venture into the darkest layers of the self in search of genuine light. They are courageous souls, not shying away from pain, loss, or wounds, because deep down, they know that no rebirth can happen without a death of some kind. For them, truth doesn't reside on the surface, but in the mud beneath unnamed emotions, in the unseen moments. That is where they dwell, in profound questions, in seemingly shadowed thoughts, which, if held with care, possess immense healing power. It's no surprise that November-born individuals often go through multiple deaths and rebirths in life, each one a breaking and remaking, each one a completely new version of themselves. They cannot stand falsehood, are disinterested in superficiality, and are drawn to what is real, even when that realness is painful. But the intensity of their emotions can also lead to isolation, to long periods of silence, and if unanchored, they may drown in their darkness without finding a way out. The greatest lesson for the alchemist is not to avoid the dark, but to trust in their own transformation process. They need to understand that every dissolution is an invitation to restructure, deeper, truer, stronger, that they do not need to be okay by anyone's standards. They only need to be honest with their inner spiritual journey, even if it's slow, unseen, or hard to put into words. And when they come to accept themselves, light and shadow alike, they become sacred firekeepers, capable of guiding others through paths they have walked. The alchemist knows that pain is not a sign of failure, but the raw material of profound transformation. And when they learn to embrace the darkness without being consumed by it, they do more than survive. They transform, they heal, and they awaken something ancient within us all, the soul, waiting to be seen, understood, and turned into gold. December, the visionary sage, the prophetic wisdom keeper. After November, the month of transformation and rebirth in darkness, December arrives like a final pause, where motion slows, making space for contemplation, closure, and a turn towards something greater than the personal self. It is no coincidence that the final month of the year is symbolized by those who see far, who live by grand ideals, and who think beyond the era in which they live. Those born in December often embody the archetype of the visionary sage, the one who carries the light of deep understanding and faith in what has not yet come to be. Unlike the analytical mind of September or the emotional harmony of October, those born in December possess a vision that transcends time. They don't just ask, "What is happening?" but "What does this mean for the whole?" They live with open intuition, philosophical thinking, and often see life as a vast cycle in which every event has meaning, every person a purpose, and every pain a step in a larger evolution. They often serve as guides, those who ask, "Why are we here?" and who tirelessly search for truths that lie beyond conventional frameworks. However, such elevated vision can come with the burden of isolation. The visionary sage may feel too different, too abstract to be understood, or too idealistic to live fully in a world that often only values the immediate. They may become lost in thought, in mental models, and disconnect from everyday life. In their darker moments, they feel alone, not because no one is around, but because no one seems to share their spiritual frequency. Their greatest lesson is this: don't let wisdom stay trapped in the mind. Profound insight only becomes truly valuable when it is lived, shared, and expressed through actions, decisions, and relationships. When those born in December learn how to bring their vision down to earth, to connect with the present without losing their depth, they become rare and luminous guides, humble yet enlightening. They help others see beyond their fears, believe in something better, and live with a grounded spirit in a constantly changing world. December does not end the year. It opens the next cycle, with wisdom distilled from 11 months of living. Of spiritual maturity, a step beyond the roles handed to you, toward what Jung called the journey toward wholeness. So now, maybe it's time to pause and ask yourself, what month were you born in? Do you recognize yourself in that month's archetype? Are you living in alignment with your soul frequency? Or are you still caught in the noise of the outside world? If this journey has touched something inside you, if you too are seeking deeper understanding of yourself through symbols, archetypes, and the wisdom of Carl Jung, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This space will be where we continue exploring the deeper layers of consciousness, unlocking a more authentic and meaningful life. Be part of a community, walking the path of individuation. This road is always easier when we don't walk it alone. Archetypes, ancient images, etched deeply into the collective unconscious. For women, one of the strongest archetypes is the mother, the caregiver, the nurturer, the one who puts others' needs above her own. The problem begins when this archetype, instead of harmonizing with other parts of the soul, swells and dominates the entire psychic life. The woman becomes the mother in her own romantic relationship, worrying, caring, sacrificing, forgetting that love needs a partner, not a second mother. Imagine you're in a theater where the stage is meant for two main characters, you and your partner. But for some reason, you only want to play a supporting role, quietly arranging the backstage, ensuring the lights, props, and costumes are perfect. The other steps onto the stage, shines, and receives applause. And you? No one sees you because you've turned yourself into the technician in your own life's play. And then you're surprised. Why doesn't he see my value? The answer is cruel, because you've identified your value with invisibility. I still remember the story of a 38-year-old woman in a 10-year relationship. She said, "He never has to worry about anything. I always arrange everything. Work schedules, friend meetups, even his parents' birthdays. I thought if I did it all, he'd never leave me." But the result was the opposite. The man gradually took her presence for granted. He no longer tried on dates, no longer cared for her as before, because in his eyes she had become a perfect service, no longer a mysterious woman to be discovered. This is the psychological trap that Jung called identification with the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted. For many women, that persona is the image of the good person, the sacrificer, the gentle wife. They pour all their energy into keeping this mask polished, while the true soul, with its desires, anger, and boundaries, is buried in the shadows. And the paradox is, it's precisely when they bury the true self that they become less attractive. Because men, like anyone, aren't drawn to artificial perfection, but to wholeness, light with darkness, gentleness with sharpness, love with resolve. A study in cognitive psychology shows we often value what requires effort to obtain. When a woman is always available, always there when needed, the male unconscious loses the sense of excitement. Just like a painting. If every detail is perfect, with no jagged lines, no empty spaces, the viewer's eye tires and grows bored. It's the cracks, the shadows, the imperfect edges that make a work of art vivid. Love is the same. Jung once warned, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And the horror for many women is accepting that they're not just kind, not just gentle. They also have anger, the need for respect, and the desire for freedom. However, when they attempt to conceal it all to maintain a good image, they lose the ability to be perceived as a genuine person. The man may need them, but he can't desire them. He receives service, but doesn't see the soul. Try imagining this. You walk into a store and receive a gift. You take it, smile, but a few days later, you might forget where it is. Conversely, if you have to save up, choose carefully to buy something. Its value in your mind is entirely different. Love operates on the same principle. When you're always ready, always sacrificing, you unwittingly turn yourself into a gift in the other's eyes. And free in human psychology often means worthless. This is the root mistake, identifying goodness with self-worth. But true value doesn't lie in how many times you say yes, not in how many times you sacrifice. Value lies in who you are when you dare to be present with your entire self. A woman who can captivate men isn't one who only knows how to love, but one who can both love and say no, who can be both gentle and fierce, who can both nurture and protect herself. So, the lesson from Jung is clear. Value doesn't come from how much you do for others, but from daring to be yourself, whole, with both light and shadow. And only then can you be present, no longer invisible, in the eyes of a truly worthy man. Number 2, the need to be needed, the psychological trap that kills attraction. Yet, even when realizing that value isn't tied to sacrifice, many women still unwittingly fall into a more subtle trap. They don't seek to be loved, but to be needed. And this seemingly harmless need is the silent detonator that kills attraction in love. The craving to be needed is like an invisible rope that binds. On the outside, it takes the shape of devoted love. I'll always be here for you. I'll do everything so you don't have to worry. But inside, it's disguised dependency. The woman believes, if I'm no longer useful, I'll be abandoned. So she turns love into a form of service contract. I give, so you'll stay. But this contract is always unfair, because true love has never always ready, you unwittingly erase the uncertainty factor. No challenge, no anticipation, no dopamine. The relationship falls into a flatline state, no heartbeat, no vitality. And perhaps this is the moment you should ask yourself, in your current love, are you seen as a woman with a full soul, personality, light and shadow? Or are you just existing as a tool to fill someone's void? If one day you stop sacrificing, stop serving, stop proving your usefulness, would that person still desire to stay with you? Try thinking of a concert. If the singer holds one single note forever, no matter how beautiful, the audience will leave. Love is the same. When a woman only sings the tune, "I'm always here for you," without changing tone, without climax, without silence, the song loses its allure. The shadow, with its fierceness, mystery, and refusal, is the necessary note for the love song to resound fully. The scary thing is, many women don't realize they're falling into this trap. They confuse being needed with being loved. A chair in the living room is also needed, to sit on, to place things. But who among us desires a chair? The difference is, being loved means being seen as an independent person, while being needed only turns you into a tool. And when you become a tool, attraction died long ago. That's why Jung always emphasized the importance of individuation, the journey to become oneself. When a woman escapes the need to be needed, she begins to reclaim power. She dares to let the man face emptiness, dares not to fill every need, dares to live her own life. And strangely, it's that emptiness that increases desire. Because men, like any human, can't love a faint shadow that only serves. They can only love a whole soul that both gives and withholds, both belongs and is free. So the be needed trap is actually a death loop. The more you try to prove you're indispensable, the more replaceable you become. Because attraction isn't born from necessity, but from freedom. And freedom only appears when you dare to be yourself, accepting both light and shadow in you. Number 3. Lacking the shadow means disappearing in the male unconscious. And right here, Jung opens a deeper layer of analysis, not just stopping at the need to be needed, but at the root of invisibility lies women losing a core part of the soul, the shadow. Because when the shadow is denied, the primal attraction in the male unconscious vanishes with it. In Jungian psychology, the shadow isn't something evil to eliminate, but the other half of the soul, where instinct, fierceness, desire, refusal, and the dark corners society rejects reside. A woman without a shadow is like an only white painting, clean, pure, but soulless. Men may look, but can't linger, because attraction lies in contrast, in layers, in the blending of light and dark shades. Imagine a forest. If it's only lush green leaves, no dry branches, no rough tree trunks, the forest looks like a simulated picture, unreal. The shadow is the dry branches, the necessary chaos for the forest to become a real ecosystem. In a relationship, when a woman cuts off the shadow, she becomes that simulated forest, beautiful, safe, but lacking life. And men, who also carry their own darkness, can't reflect their self in a space too pure. This relates directly to another Jungian concept, projection in the unconscious. We're often attracted to those who carry the part we've denied. A strong, rational man is often drawn to an emotional, instinctive woman because she reminds him of what he lacks. But if the woman only lives by light, always kind, always accepting, always agreeing, he won't find anywhere to project his shadow. The result is that she becomes invisible, not in consciousness, but in the male unconscious, where primal attraction is decided. Try thinking of an everyday situation. There are women called absolutely gentle wives, never arguing with their husbands, never refusing anything, never showing anger. They think that's preserving happiness, ensuring love. But then the relationship gradually cools. The man beside them starts feeling empty, as if living in front of a polished mirror. He only sees his own image, with nothing left to discover in the other. And the paradox is, he doesn't leave because she's worsened, but precisely because she's too perfect. That perfection erases the most attractive part, authenticity. If viewed through the lens of neuroscience, this is even clearer. The human brain is strongly activated by uncertainty. That's why we're interested in games, challenges, and incomplete puzzles. Love operates the same way. When a woman dares to show both shadow and light, she creates uncertainty. Today gentle, tomorrow resolute. Now giving, later withholding. That uncertainty is fuel for dopamine, the chemical of desire. Conversely, a woman who only nods, only smiles, conscious, a woman needs to do the seemingly paradoxical, embrace the shadow. Not to become dark, but to become whole. When light and shadow coexist, they're not just good, but a full, complex, elusive soul. And it's that elusiveness that makes men unable to look away. Number 4. Identifying forms of too good, the false shadow. But before you can embark on that journey, there's a crucial step, recognizing what is genuine goodness and what is too good. That is, the false shadow disguised under the name of love. This is the hardest part, because too good often wears a noble mask, making you believe you're loving, when in reality you're just erasing yourself. One of the most noticeable forms is being good out of fear of abandonment. This is the kind of kindness that stems not from the heart, but from fear. The woman always tries to please, always yields, always endures, because deep down she believes that if she dares to express difference, the other will leave. But love based on fear is never sustainable. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." In the unconscious, the fear of abandonment is guiding, making you believe that the more good you are, the safer you are. But the truth is, the more you fear losing, the faster you lose. The second form is being good at control. It sounds strange, but many women give too much not entirely out of love, but because they want to control the outcome. If I care for you enough, if I sacrifice enough, you won't be able to leave me. This is a subtle transaction, like sowing many seeds to ensure a bountiful harvest. But love is never a math equation. The man may receive it all, but he's not forced to love because of it. And precisely when you try to control, you lose the naturalness, the allure that only blossoms in freedom. This is also the moment I want you to pause a bit and reflect on yourself. In your current relationship, have you ever found yourself falling into any of these too good forms? Please share your experiences, because sometimes personal stories help others realize they're walking a similar path. The next form is being good to feel valuable. This is when a woman only feels herself lovable, worth keeping, when she's doing something for others. She doesn't see herself as enough if she's just sitting still, if she's just present simply as herself. This is the most dangerous form of good, because it ties self-worth to service. You're like a machine that's only switched on when working. But true love doesn't require you to prove your value every second. It needs you to be present as a full soul, not as a multi-tool. Another very common form is being good out of fear of conflict. This is the type of woman who always says yes, agrees, and reconciles because they believes that argument means separation. But conflict, in love, is like salt in a dish. Without it, everything is bland. A relationship without conflict isn't a relationship, but a performance. And when you refuse conflict, you also refuse the opportunity for the other to truly understand you. You maintain surface peace, but lose the deep connection inside. These forms of too good have something in common. They are all masks. They aren't the real you, but shells to be accepted. But masks, no matter how beautiful, are still just fake skin. The person opposite may thank you, may get used to you, but in the unconscious, they won't be attracted. Because attraction only appears when a person dares to be present truly, with both light and shadow. Look at an everyday situation to see this clearly. Some women always say it's okay when the husband comes home late, when the lover forgets a date, when their needs are ignored. They think that such endurance proves love. But over time, the partner starts to see that silence as given. And then one day, they leave. Not because that woman isn't good, but because she's so good that she disappears. The repeated "it's okay" has swallowed her true voice, turning her into a shadow in her own life. To identify too good, you can ask yourself 3 simple questions. Am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I fear he'll leave if I don't? Am I giving this out of love, or because I'm trying to control the outcome to ensure being loved back? Am I agreeing to this because it's truly right for me, or because I fear conflict will destroy the relationship? If the answers lean toward fear, toward control, toward proving yourself, then it's no longer goodness, but a form of self-destruction. And when you live too long in that false good, you'll feel empty, like an actor who plays the role too well, to the point of forgetting who they really are. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Genuine goodness only comes from a solid self. Knowing your value doesn't depend on whether others need you or not. Too good is the false shadow, stemming from fear, from lack, from the desire to control. And only when you distinguish these two can you begin to escape the loop of invisibility. Number 5. Solution from Jung. Integrating the shadow, becoming a whole woman. But Jung doesn't stop at pointing out the manifestations. He gives us a path, integrating the shadow. Because the shadow isn't to be destroyed, but to be harmonized. And in that harmony, a woman becomes whole, captivating not because she's perfect, but because she's authentic. Jung calls this journey individuation, the process of a person becoming themselves, instead of a shadow of social expectations. For women, individuation doesn't mean abandoning goodness, abandoning gentleness, but supplementing it with the shadow's strength, resolve, instinct, self-respect. When light and shadow are both present, she is no longer a one-dimensional role, but becomes a vibrant universe, and that vibrancy is the eternal allure. Imagine a diamond. It doesn't shine thanks to a smooth surface, but thanks to the cuts, the facets that refract light. A whole woman is the same. It's the edges, the ability to say no, to express anger, to live for herself, that make her radiant. Integrating the shadow doesn't turn her into someone else, but reveals the diamond she always was. In life, this doesn't mean you have to become aggressive or extreme. It starts with small steps, but ones that carry the power to change the entire soul structure. For example, when a man texts at midnight wanting to chat, instead of dropping sleep to respond right away, you can reply, "I'll call you tomorrow. Good night." A simple sentence, but it contains affirmation. My time and energy have value. That's the moment the shadow steps into the light, not to destroy, but to set boundaries. And those boundaries are what create attraction. From the perspective of modern psychology, this is called intelligent selfishness. Intelligent selfishness. Not selfishness in a bad sense, but knowing how to prioritize yourself to love healthily. Because if you continuously set aside your needs, you're no longer loving, you're just self-eliminating. Conversely, when you know to stop, know to keep a space for yourself, you give love balance. And balance is the foundation for love to last. Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That means wholeness doesn't come from trying to add more light, but from courageously looking straight at the darkness, naming it, acknowledging it, then turning it into part of yourself. When a woman dares to admit, "I get tired sometimes, I need respect too, I have limits," she doesn't become weaker. On the contrary, she becomes stronger and more authentic than ever. Another important point: integrating the shadow isn't an emotional tactic to keep men. It's an inner journey, a transformation from the roots. Because if you only use the shadow as a ploy, occasionally pretending to be cold, sometimes pretending indifference, you haven't truly changed. Jung emphasizes, transformation only happens when you become one with your darkness, not when you use it as a tool. When the shadow is fused into your being, you no longer have to act, You just need to live, and that living is attractive enough. Evolutionary psychology gives us a deeper explanation. Humans are naturally drawn to autonomous and independent individuals, because in the unconscious, that's a sign of survival strength. A woman who doesn't depend on a man's recognition, but is confident in her value, sends an unconscious signal. I'm whole, and I choose you not, because I need to, but because I want to. It's this freedom in choice that creates irresistible attraction. Therefore, the solution from Jung isn't to stop being kind, but to stop letting kindness devour the self. Let goodness walk alongside the shadow. You can love, but also refuse. You can forgive, but also set boundaries. You can be gentle, but also proud. Then, you're no longer a flawed piece, but a complete whole. And a whole always has a stronger attraction than any artificial perfection. When a woman walks the path of integrating the shadow, she'll realize a paradoxical truth. She doesn't need to find ways to keep anyone. The worthy man will stay voluntarily because he's attracted not by service, but by whole presence. And if someone leaves because she dares to live truly, that's not a loss, but liberation. The final truth: you don't need to be needed to be loved. And now is the time to face one final truth, which might shock many. You don't need to be needed to be loved. This is the thin but decisive line between dependency and true love. Because being needed and being loved are not the same at all. Being needed means your presence serves a purpose. You fill voids, you solve problems, you bring convenience. But being loved means you're seen as yourself, with all your presence, personality, and soul. The other chooses to be with you, not because you're a necessary condition for them to live, but because you're the joy they crave to share. One of the most noticeable signs to distinguish is, when you're needed, the other only comes to you in hard times, when they're sad, when they're stuck, when they want relief. You become an emotional charging station. But when you're loved, the other comes to you in happy times too, when they have good things to tell, when they simply want to enjoy a peaceful moment with you. In other words, being needed often only appears in crises, while being loved is present in everyday life. The second sign: when you're needed, the relationship often feels one-sided. You give more than you receive. You're always the initiator, and you always have to carry on to keep things running. But when you're loved, there's reciprocity. Both support, both listen, both step toward each other. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Being loved means mutual transformation. Being needed means only one side changes to meet the other. The third sign: when you're needed, you often feel anxious and insecure. You always wonder, if I don't do this, will he still stay? You live in a state of having to prove, but when you're loved, you feel safe. You can refuse, you can be tired, you can reveal flaws, and the other is still there, because their love isn't based on whether you meet enough, but on your very existence. Try thinking of a familiar situation. There are relationships where the woman does everything: plans, cleans, handles, reminds, cares. The man seems unable to do without her, but never really looks at her. He needs her like oxygen, but only because she's convenient, not because she's desired. And when one day he finds another oxygen source, When you're no longer defined by necessity, you become more captivating than ever. Because then, the man sees you not as a binding, but as a free choice. And nothing is more seductive than a person chosen for their very wholeness. If you feel these reflections are gently knocking on your own unconscious, leave a small sign, a like, a subscribe button. Because some soul journeys shouldn't be walked alone, and here you'll always find guiding words from Jung to illuminate the next step. The end of this journey isn't a dry piece of advice, but a gentle reminder. You've never needed to become anyone else but yourself to be worthy of love. In every relationship, in every gaze, what truly makes you shine isn't how much you do to keep the other, but how you dare to be present with wholeness, both gentle and sharp, both loving and bound. True love isn't nourished by submission, but blossoms from two free souls choosing to stay together. When you understand that attraction isn't born from being needed, but from freedom itself, you not only change how you view men, but also how you view your own life. And perhaps the greatest gift Jung left us is courage. Courage to acknowledge both light and shadow in ourselves, to then realize that it's that wholeness which is the deepest invitation to love. Are you ready to stop being needed and start truly being loved? If so, let these reflections continue to accompany you, because the journey to becoming yourself is perhaps the greatest love journey of all.